This semester, I spent a wonderful time working with different students and teachers at Arnold Elementary School. I was part of their after-school clubs, which work to bring children, families, and neighborhoods together. The clubs provided fun after-school activities to keep students connected and out of trouble. While I was there, I helped set up for the different activities and helped prepare a snack for the students. I also worked with Homework Club on Mondays and Mud Monsters Club on Wednesdays. Being a part of Homework Club allowed me to work one-on-one with students and helped me to improve my skills of explaining the material in a way that is easy to understand. In Mud Monsters Club, I worked on clearly explaining directions and being in charge of a larger group of students. Both of these clubs allowed me to practice skills that will be essential when I become a teacher, and for this reason, I really connected with this project. Before going to the site, I outlined 3 interpersonal skills that I wanted to work on while at my volunteer site. These included cross-cultural communication, nonverbal communication, and handling stress. I believe that these skills will not only be essential to my day-to-day interactions with others, but will also be very important in my teaching career. Being able to communicate with all my students verbally and nonverbally will allow them to learn in my classroom. On the other hand, handling stress will also be a big part of my classroom management. To ensure that I worked on these specific interpersonal skills, I made a goal statement for each one using the STEAM method. I stated my goal of improving the skill, the time I would devote to this goal, how I knew I would succeed, and the steps I would take in doing so. Finally, I included a statement about how I would know when I accomplished each goal. In the end, I feel that I did accomplish these 3 goals. Although there was not as many students of different cultures in my groups as I would have hoped, I was able to interact with them and get a better understanding of what made them unique. One example of this was when I chose to use Thanksgiving as an example to relate the information to the student's life. He later told me that he and his family did not celebrate Thanksgiving, thus rendering this example useless to him. This was a huge turning point for me, giving me a better understanding of why it is important to understand a person's culture before trying to talk to them. For my next goal, I worked on my nonverbal communication throughout the semester. I was able to master many stern looks that told my students to stop their inappropriate behaviors, as well as work on my eye contact and hand gestures when teaching a new concept. By the end of the semester, I could see a significant difference in how many of my students responded to me based on only my nonverbal cues. Finally, I succeeded in handling stress more appropriately. I can now more easily take a deep breath and stand back from a situation before making a final judgment, as well as understand that if something is not done correctly, in the end it is not the end of the world. I also worked on taking things one step at a time to make them appear less intimidating and less stressful. In the end, I have even put some of the tips to handling stress from our book into practice, such as leaving 10 minutes early for an appointment or a class. Looking over my goal statements every few weeks, as well as practicing them outside of my site in my day-to-day life, made these goals relatively easy to achieve. I believe that these goals were very appropriate for my volunteer site as well as good practice for my future teaching career. They will even allow me to communicate more effectively in my day-to-day life. If I could do this project over again, I would not change any of my goals. I believe that they were all important to my success in this project. If I could have changed one thing, I would have added one more goal to my list. I would have liked to have a goal about working on resolving conflict. Using my interpersonal skills was very essential to this project. One of the important skills that I used during my time at Arnold Elementary was resolving conflict. An example of this occurred during a meeting of Mud Monsters Club. As I was supervising and helping my students work on their clay projects, I heard some shouting arise from across the room. I immediately went to see what was going on and began to ask the 2 girls what they were fighting about. At once they both began shouting their answers, so I stopped them and asked them each individually what had happened. I came to find that one of the girls, Katie, had insulted Rosa's brother's project, and as Rosa stood up for him, she began to cause the argument. I had to put my personal feelings aside to help resolve this argument. I began to ask Katie questions such as, why would you make fun of Emilio's project, and how would you feel if someone made fun of your project? She soon realized that what she had done was wrong. Then I asked the girls what we could do to fix this problem. After some debating, Rosa said that she thought that Katie should apologize to her brother. And after some convincing, Katie eventually did. Then Katie said that she thought Rosa should apologize to her for shouting, which she quickly did. Finally, I asked the two girls if they could continue working together and get along. Both girls agreed that they could stop arguing and put the situation behind them. The next interpersonal skill that I used during my time at Arnold Elementary was nonverbal communication. An example of this occurred with a student in Mud Monsters Club. This particular student seemed to have a difficult time sitting still and focusing on his project. At times he would also begin to distract the students around him. Several times I told him from across the room that he needed to sit back down and work on his project. But this method only worked momentarily, as he saw that I was working with another student and not paying attention to what he was doing. I found that to get him to understand and obey me, I had to be at eye level with him, my face completely enthralled into the conversation, as well as use gestures and eye contact that showed him that there could be consequences if his disruptive behavior continued. These nonverbal cues showed the student that I meant what I said, and they were more effective in getting him to focus. One final skill that I used was handling stress. On one occasion, our club was done early with their work and could not sit still until clubs dismissed. Since we had a large gym-like space, I decided to start a game of Simon Says. The students' voices grew louder and louder as they began to enjoy themselves in the game. I was unaware that the students' loud voices were disrupting a nearby club. The teacher of the other club was very frustrated and began to accuse me of disrupting her club. I was very flustered by her attitude, and under the stress I did not know how to respond. To handle the situation, I first took a step back and realized that arguing back would only cause more of a problem. I then calmed down and tried to take the stressful situation one step at a time. Finally, I told myself that in the grand scheme of things, this argument would not be very important. These things helped relieve the stress I felt when in the situation and allowed me to have a clearer head to attempt to resolve the conflict. One way that I have contributed to my organization was by arriving early to help set up for the clubs and get the snacks ready. At the beginning of the semester, there was only one person taking on this whole task, and he always seemed pressured for time. By arriving early, I was able to take some of the stress off of him as well as free him up to do other things that would make clubs run more smoothly. Another opportunity to contribute at my organization occurred during homework club. While working with the students, I met one girl who seemed to struggle excessively with math. She often came to club not understanding the material, which often resulted in her getting very frustrated. I soon began to work with her almost every club meeting. I explained to her the importance of listening in class and taking some notes to help her remember. I also began to notice that she had trouble sitting still and easily got bored with the topic. For this reason, I worked to turn her math homework into a game. Whether it be a race against me, a race against the clock, or even a simple reward for getting a certain number of answers right, these tasks made math more enjoyable for her. In the end, she was doing much better on her homework assignment. She was completing them much quicker and did not need to ask me near as many questions. Overall, I had a wonderful experience volunteering at Arnold Elementary. I enjoyed working with the different students and getting to know them on a more personal level. For anyone who is thinking of becoming an educator or planning on working with children in the future, I would suggest volunteering here. Working here has helped me solidify my decision to become a teacher, as well as given me practice working with students in groups and one-on-one. It was great to see the students that I worked with in homework club grow in their knowledge of math and reading, as well as have fun building clay sculptures with the kids in Mud Monsters Club. Finally, this experience has also helped me to make connections with school staff members, which will be a great help when I'm looking for a job in the future. At the end of my experience at Arnold Elementary, it was great to look back and see that I was able to fill a need as well as be able to give back to my new community. Being new to Lincoln made it hard to know where to volunteer or how to get connected. This class helped me find a place where I could use my talents to help as well as make connections for future volunteer opportunities. In the end, not only did I give time to my volunteer site, but they also gave back to me. The leaders at my site always made sure to thank me for my time and tell me just how much it meant to them. They always made sure I felt appreciated. They also let me know that if there was anything they could do for me, they would be more than willing. The students that I worked with also gave back to me. They showed me such kindness and appreciation even though I only spent such a little bit of time with them. Their happiness and appreciation of the little things, such as me helping them color a picture or giving them a hand with their clay masterpieces, have helped me realize that I should look for more joy in the little things. They have made me more thankful for the things that I have.